showing emotion is not weakness. I actually think showing emotion, feeling emotion is strength, because it's not easy to dive in and it takes courage.
I tell men all the time, I say, look, you don't cry, I cry. So guess what? I will demolish you in a way that you can't be demolished because I'm more emotionally vulnerable in myself. I'm not afraid of my emotions. Where some guys fight that. Women love when you're vulnerable like that. Like, yeah, I miss you. Where you been at? Get over here, right? And the more I step into that part of my being, the more my life changes. It's not even about my partner or my relate. My life changes because I'm allowing that authenticity in my emotions to open my heart up to receive not only love, but life. Spiritual Fitness Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Bigger, and I'm back again with another episode. And today, I get to talk about all things energy, psychic, intuitiveness, and I have the special guest of Brittany Bento, and she is incredible. She's a healer. She's a psychic medium. She travels a lot. I think she just got back from Peru, and she's been experiencing a lot of death and rebirth. Anybody who's in astrology, you know what the 8th house is about. But Brittany, welcome to the podcast. How are you today?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here, excited to dive into conversation.
So let's get right into it. What is your relationship with spirituality, and what is your relationship with fitness?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to me, spirituality is very much so my own thing. I actually was raised very, very Catholic, church every single Sunday, Catholic elementary school, Catholic high school, the full shebang. There was a lot that I needed to kind of move through with, just religious trauma and that sort of a thing. I guess spirituality, personally, I don't like being linked in with New Age spirituality because I feel, not that, nothing against it, but in my opinion, New Age spirituality is its own religion. And personally, I see truths in all religion. I think there's beauty in all religion, but I don't like to be confined by the constructs of religion. So spirituality has just become my own thing, my connection with myself, my higher self, with spirit, my spirit guides, my angels, with God, source, the universe, whatever it is you want to call it. And it's ever evolving, it's ever changing and, continuing to shift as I change and grow. So that's just kind of it in a nutshell. But my relationship with fitness, if we're talking about physical fitness, is actually something that's really evolved with time as well. So I used to be a personal trainer. I was actually a PE teacher for a while. I used to do bodybuilding competitions. I was like super into the gym. And I had an interesting relationship with fitness because for me, I started my fitness journey, I guess, for the wrong reasons. I was super athletic as a kid. I was very much into a lot of different sports. And then as I got older and kind of shifted away from sports, I gained weight as my body changed as well. And just with society as a woman, I was made to feel like I needed to look a certain way. So I got into fitness under the guise of health. And it partly was for that reason, but it was also because I felt like I needed to look a certain way in order to be worthy of love, to be worthy of whatever it may be. And I didn't feel good about myself unless I looked a certain way. So my relationship with fitness has really shifted because there was a period in time where I really needed to pull away from fitness and kind of like the pendulum needed to completely swing on the other end where I wasn't going to the gym at all and I needed to love myself outside of fitness, which was really important on my journey. And currently I'm in the process, and I have been for the last couple of years, but it's a journey, it's a process, slow and steady. I'm finding that healthy balance where now I feel like fitness is so important for my mind, my body, my spirit, and I choose to move my body not to look a certain way, but to have, like I said, for my mind and my spirit as well. So I'm finding that healthy balance now, but fitness is super important to me. It's definitely a passion as well.
Yeah, beautifully put, because that's what spiritual fitness is, right? Is you finding autonomy in your spirituality, what your fitness looked like, merging those together to marry one another to benefit your evolution in this lifetime. And I think traditional fitness is more of vanity and not really longevity, but yet that's the undertone. And so we're always like, look at me, I look great. But there's also been, a lot of cases where people look great, but they don't feel great internally. They have the abs, they have the muscles, assets, quads, the legs, but inside they feeling empty. There's also a thing I like to, refer to when it comes to people who have money or people who are wealthy. Not all people, but there's a thing where there's a lot of people who have a lot of money. They're rich materially, but they have broke energy, right?
Right.
They don't have the greatest energy. But as people are working in different spaces and paradigms of their life. For you, it just seems like when you speak and when you talk, I can feel there's so much certainty in your channel when you're speaking that I can feel a vibration in it. When did you discover the certainty to trust that inner voice, the inner knowing, or the inner guidance to know that this is true for whatever I'm working through, for whoever might need it? Where did that start? What was that turning point? Because that's also, I believe, part of your spiritual fitness is your channel. Like, you seem very connected to it.
I actually love that question. I've never been asked that before. I think that's a beautiful question. So that is something that evolved over time. It's not something that just turned on overnight. It's something I wanted to turn on overnight. I was like so desperately trying for it. But for me, that process was honestly just my own journey of self-love and my own journey of healing, because as a result of that, I got to know myself. I got to know myself really well. And it's still a journey that I'm on. But as a result of that, I can differentiate between my intuition, what feels true for me, as opposed to the noise, as opposed to the fluff, as opposed to other people's opinions. And that's something that took a really long time, and it's not easy. It's like diving into the nooks and crannies. There was a lot of unlearning and relearning that I needed to do. So that journey of becoming so sure of my channel was the journey of self and the journey of really getting to know myself.
So great that you said that, because the channel is so distorted at times based on the world, based on what we grew up in, the blueprints we believe that we think is true, and we think the story we create is reality, but it's all perspective. For you, how do you clear your channel where you're certain that this is my intuition and this is not my mind or my ego? How do you know? Or do you not know? You just trust what you feel?
That's something that, again, takes a lot of time, because like you said, it is the ego and we need the ego. A lot of intuitives or channels often, this is why I say, like, if you go get a reading done from anybody, be very, very mindful of who you go to, because there are some people out there, a lot of readers out there, because this world is so unregulated, who might channel from the lens of their ego. Therefore, what comes through, there can be part truths, but it can be slightly distorted based on, like you said, their upbringing, based on their own personal views and perspectives. So what's really important is to set my ego aside. Like whether I'm doing a reading for somebody else or, receiving messages for myself, I try to be, and it's an ongoing thing, right? It's not like I've done all this work and then that's it. It's something that I need to continue practicing, like with meditation every morning, prayers every day, stuff like that, keeping myself healthy, mind, body, and spirit. And also like questioning myself, questioning my ego. There's certain things where I sit with, I'm like, okay, is this coming from my ego, or is this coming from my soul? Is this coming from my intuition? And it's just this constant self-reflection. And then with time, as I really, because the more, going back to what I was saying before, the more I got to know myself, I was more aware of my ego. So on this journey, I befriended my ego. I really got to know my ego, and I actually grew to love my ego, because my ego just wants to protect me at the end of the day. Sometimes the ego can look ugly if you don't really understand it, but the ego is there to protect you. So when you take the time to really understand your ego and question yourself, there was a period in my life where I questioned everything. It's like, okay, why do I believe this? Where did this come from? Is this something that I believe because I grew up and my parents impressed this upon me? Or is this something that feels true for me? And through meditation, through healing, with my intuition, it comes this inner peace that comes along with the intuition. It's this inner feeling that it's really hard to kind of articulate what that feeling is. But again, it's like the healing journey, getting to know myself and questioning myself, constantly reflecting. It's a practice that continues. Like I said, it's something that never ceases. And through that, I've become very clear. And with that said, I'm not perfect. It's not like yeah, I'm human at the end of the day. And I think it's acknowledging that as well. And I also ask for help. I ask for guidance. Like in my prayers in the morning, I say, Spirit, God, like help me stay heart-centered, help me stay rooted in love, help me see truth. And that's something else that I say too, is any distortions or yeah, any distortions within my own mind, help me see clearly, help me see truth. And God, source, spirit, they want to help us, but because we have free will here, we have to ask, and I feel like a lot of people forget to ask for that help. So that's a part of my prayers actually in the morning, is asking to stay on the path of truth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're tapping into my frequency because I got two questions and then I had one nudge. I said, "Oh, okay, she's really tapped in." So the first nudge was, or the nudge I had was when I'm listening to my intuition or I'm making a decision. What I've recently acquired within the tools of myself is I put my hand over my heart and I ask spirit to like, okay, I'm traveling to Toronto in a few weeks. Okay, allow me to get the right ticket, book the right hotel. Like I'm really intentional about it. So I'm not doing it from a mind or ego place. I'm doing it from a heart-centered place. So that gives me more certainty in my decision or more trust. The two-part questions that I had, the first question is, what's your relationship with your intuition versus discernment, right? And do you believe in our life being all free will, or do you think it's predestined?
One thing that I want to say, I don't know if I mentioned this, is building that trust within myself. The more I'm sure of what's my intuition versus what's not my intuition. And also too, if you have like a decision to make, often that the urge to do something right away, like I need to do it right now, that's often ego. Intuition often will arise. It's like more of the quieter voice. It's not urgent. It's not right now. So that's just a little side thing that I wanted to say. But you were talking about, sorry, discernment versus intuition.
Yes, your relationship and how do people decipher like what is discernment and what is intuition, right?
Yeah. So discernment, I think, is super important. I say this because I post a lot of readings like on my TikTok, on YouTube, X, Y, and Z. And I always say, like, please use your discernment. And what I mean by that is like not necessarily just believing everything you hear, or just because it's something that sounds appealing to your ego, it doesn't necessarily mean it's rooted in truth. So discernment is important to, it really ties in with intuition. Like they're like one, in my opinion, because there's no discernment without intuition. So if that makes sense, to me, it's like there is not one without the other.
Yeah.
Um, because how can you discern something if you're not connected with your intuition? Does that make sense?
Yeah, this makes perfect sense. And it helps, especially to people out there who's starting off in their entrepreneurship journey when you're doing business or you might be taking on clients as a healer, light worker, energy worker, psychic, right? In that realm, or just a business that has a product. I think what happens is when we're dealing with people and you're dealing with money, people will jeopardize their intuition and discernment for what the mind and the ego wants. So recently I had a few people get on calls that I'm like, they're not in alignment of my energy and where I'm going, but I actually have a intentional prayer that I pray before I get on a call with a person. Like, if this person is for the highest good of my evolution of my soul and my consciousness for where I'm going, and so for them, allow it to be so. Allow it to be. And it always never disturb. If it's wrong, I'll know. But sometimes because people are in their ego, like you said, I got to make the money now. I got to book the trip, right? We'll say yes to something that's really discerned as no, because the mind is not quiet. We don't really follow the right yes. We follow the yes that makes sense for the moment, which is the ego is always trying to be in control because it's trying to protect us, as you said before.
Exactly. So that's where like questioning yourself comes in. It's like, okay, where is this coming from? Is this like, why is it that I want to do this? Where is this actually coming from? And then sit with that, depending on whatever it is. Is this coming from a place of scarcity? Is this coming from a place of fear? Is this coming from a place of X, Y, and Z? Or is this coming from alignment?
Only when you're in alignment, just like you said, you can't have discernment without intuition. You get the right assignment and you don't have to think, you don't have to question. You just, there it is. Bingo. Let's go. Let's talk. And so moving forward, I think this is a big thing in life. I'll just go first. I feel based on my life experience, my life has been predestined. Yes, I have free will, but when I look at my life, no matter how bad or how dark or how lonely or how confusing or overwhelming, the path always lead me to where I belong. And it's odd, but some way, somehow, I get back on the journey of the path I'm written in this lifetime. And maybe because I'm more connected to myself than usual. But for you, what is your relationship with free will and our lives being predestined?
Yeah, so I actually think it's a combination of the two. I like to say your life can be beautiful when you allow destiny and free will to intertwine. It's like a delicate dance of the two because it is a choice at the end of the day, right? Like you are choosing this path. There's so many potential different timelines, so many potential different possibilities, and you can make different choices, right? You can choose not to take care of yourself. You can choose X, Y, and Z. And I'll give like a little example. Let's say, because I do believe in destiny though as well. It's like, let's say you're destined to meet a specific person. And there's a part of you, and let's say the spirit's like, okay, we're gonna have them meet at the beach. I don't know, this is just random. And you were kind of like, oh, I feel like going to the beach. But then all of a sudden you choose not to go to the beach that day because you didn't listen to, instead maybe you got into a habit of, do you know what, instead I'm just gonna sit on my ass and watch TV all day instead. You made that conscious choice. Therefore, the alignment wasn't fully there. So you didn't go to the beach. Therefore, you didn't cross paths with that person. But if you are destined to meet them, I'm sure that it might prolong certain things. You know what I'm saying? But I think that's such a layered question because I think it is a combination of the two. And I think that the universe is so intelligent. It's the most intelligent, thing ever, way more than what our human minds can really comprehend. So I think that there's multiple possibilities. There's multiple different timelines based on our choices. But I do think that entangles with destiny. And yeah, it's a dance between the two. So I'm not necessarily like it's only free will and da 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 da, and it's only destiny, da 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 da, because yes, there's destiny. But if you sit on your butt and not just choose to watch TV all day, you're not saying yes to the universe. You're not saying, yes, I want to receive what's meant for me. And that's up to you as well.
Yeah, I mean it's true because yeah, at some point I tell people all the time, manifestation, law of attraction requires action. Whereas action to go meditate, to quit a job, to leave a country, to move in a different apartment or be with a person, you got to take some form of action. And that can come from action of fear, action of love, or just action from faith. And there has been times where I didn't have any logical reason to do anything, but I felt like I have to do it. When I moved to LA, I had $1,000. I knew one person. I'm gone. So I feel like in that moment, I was destined to come to this place. For what reason at the time, I didn't know. And then from there, things lined up. And then I would keep attracting people. Like we have a mutual friend named Lindsay. And maybe 2 months ago, she told me to follow you. She's like, oh, I think you guys would connect. You should get on your podcast. But I never reached out. I just followed you. And then maybe last week or the week before, last week, I think, or the week before, you was like, I would love to interview you on my podcast. So it was already going to happen.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I found you through her, and then you already knew who I was, which I didn't know. So I wanted to get you on the podcast regardless. So I feel like I had free will to kind of reach out to you to get you on the show, but it was destined to happen regardless of what I felt or needed for whatever reason was forming right now.
And I hear you and I'm with you on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
On the flip side, just to play devil's advocate,
Yeah.
I think that was destined because we were both in alignment. If I was still a high school teacher and I didn't choose to quit and I stayed in that mentality of fear, and when I chose to quit, nobody really supported me. They thought I was crazy. They were like, what are you doing? Letting go of such a good job with pension, with benefits, X, Y, and Z. You get the summers off. I listened to my intuition and I followed it anyways. What I wanted to say to that, though, similar to what your point on, wanting to move to LA, I think that the universe is so intelligent that if we're not in alignment with something, it's going to make us so miserable until we finally listen. So even if things are delayed, it'll eventually, get us to the path that we're meant to be on. But some people really do fight that. Yeah, I hope that all makes sense.
No, and the interesting thing, the timing of me meeting you was and talking to you was right after Peru. I had Peru last year. You had just got back, and then we had a conversation. So maybe the intelligence of Peru felt the call to connect to me at that time because you was just there. I was there last year. I know what that land means. I know what it represents. I know what I felt and how it changed my life and my experience. And it's just beautiful timing of allowing the universe, life intelligence to work in your favor for the greater good of which you can't see that's coming forward. And I think if you could sit still for 30 minutes every day, don't do anything, see what happens in the universe of your life. Try to shut your brain off, shut your thinking off, and just be like, okay, I'm open. So now when people ask me, what do you think? What is it? If I got to think about something, then it's not it. Right. Meaning, like, whether it's a relationship, a business dealing, I'm too much, I'm not in flow. But for you and your clients, how do you take on clients and how do you know this person is right for what you do? Is it based on the energy you feel right away? Because you seem very intuitive, but you can see like right away. How do you discern clients and people coming into your vortex?
What I do is a little different. So when I work with people, I don't actually work with them for an extended period of time. I do 40-minute reading. So it's open to whoever wants to sign up for a reading. With that said, there has been people I have needed to ask not to rebook with me or, whatever that may be for various different reasons. That hasn't happened too often. But yeah, I don't work with people for an extended period of time. I haven't felt called to up until this point. With that said, I have had repeat clients that choose to kind of book a reading with me more than once. Because with readings and stuff, what I do is I open the channel, connect to spirit, and just see what messages specifically want to come through for them. And the idea is to provide them, it could literally be anything because it's different for everybody based on where they're at and what messages need to come through for them. But essentially, it's to help them move forward with where they're at right now. And with readings, I always like my goal is to help people connect with themselves.
It's great because I think we were talking offline about the transition you might be in right now. And I feel as you're talking right now, I'm feeling like, have you ever thought about visibility in your life from like an artistry standpoint, right? Like, yeah, music, singing, but like just being a artist of sort that your energy moving through you is actually healing people. People more into light consciousness and not like, I can't say dark consciousness because the music industry has been flooded with like a lot of darkness for whatever reason. But I feel like you have a gift in the artistry field of putting out new content. I don't know what it is, but I feel the call to speak about it now. How do you feel about that space based on what you do now and what you're moving into?
So funny that you say that because I'm not even kidding. I had a meeting before this. I was talking with my business partner and I actually brought this up. So during a meditation for myself, like literally 2 weeks ago, like fresh in my new house because I just moved, I got this download message, intuitive hit, whatever it is you want to call it. And I got the message of you are an artist. And I have chills right now saying that. And I've never considered myself an artist before because to me, in the human mind, an artist specifically fit in these constructs. And then I kind of had this perspective shift and I was like, oh my God, I'm an artist. I was like, I'm meant to create whatever in whatever way and whatever that might look like. And my creations are medicine. So I don't know exactly what that's going to look like quite yet, but I definitely feel like that's the transition I'm in right now. I know that I'm being called away from one-on-one readings. I don't know exactly how soon I'll be able to kind of pull away from that, but I feel called to create. Like I know I'm being called to sing. I'm also being called to paint. Like that's been coming through quite a lot. Maybe that's just to help me tap into that flow a little bit more. Like if you look at my social platforms, yes, I do readings, but I do a lot of other sorts of things as well. So I'm excited to kind of play around with that. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like yet. It's still a little cloudy, but I know I'm in that transition and I know that the clarity is coming.
Yeah, I feel like you have like a identity shift, like you're in the identity of an artist. Like when I look at you, you look like an artist that I'm interviewing for her tour that's coming up or the new, LP or EP coming out. It's just, and whether it's you just chanting for like 5 tracks or speaking over sound about healing. It's a fun thing to see someone kind of transition in a way that they're not trying to do it. They're just their being is actually moving them into it. And I feel like this is your new phase of life and it's fun and it's magical, it's miracles, and you're healing people, right? Because I feel like that's what you're here to do and that's your design. Do you have any fears or are you apprehensive about singing or painting and being, because you know how they say people want exposure, but they don't want to be exposed.
Yeah, that's a great question. I feel like, so given my past experience, Spirit has kind of put me through the ringer, for lack of a better word, when it comes to judgment. And I'm sure you can relate to this, given your history. But I'll give you a little example. Like years ago, when I first started like posting on TikTok, there was another creator way larger than me at the time. I only had about like 20,000 followers on TikTok at the time, and I've grown quite a lot since then. But this creator had a lot more followers, and he made a video about me, basically just like doubting what I was doing. And I got literally flooded. This video went viral, like I think at least 1 million views. And I just got like emails, I got messages, just so much judgment and so much hate. And it wasn't even rooted in truth. And that's just a small example. And I was like, felt so alone. With that said, like Spirit has given me opportunities to experience that so that it doesn't stop me down the line, if that makes sense. And through my healing journey, judgment at the end of the day and whatever it is you want to call it, it's a real thing. I'm human. Of course, there might be a little bit of that there, fear when it comes to that, but I've moved through so much and I know who I am, that I'm at a place where I'm like, if people don't understand me, that's okay. And if I trigger them, that's okay. Yeah, I don't feel too fearful when it comes to that sort of a thing, because I've been hit hard already, if that makes sense. But I'm human, so slow and steady. And the music thing too, like that's very real. Like I used to always love singing, but growing up with siblings, shut up, you're terrible. Da, 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 da. And I think that my voice has actually changed. I know this sounds a little crazy, but my voice has changed. Like it's changed over the last year. It sounds different than it used to sound. And I tap into, because I also channel through my voice now and I channel frequency through. That was a result of my healing. And as a result of the healing, I unlocked my voice. And I think that everybody has a voice. I think that some people's voices are just more restricted than others. Some people say, I can't sing. It's like, can you not? Or are there blocks there, not of your own doing, maybe not your fault, but maybe blocks that have been passed down generationally or, whatever it may be. So, and a lot of people just talking about singing are so afraid to sing because we live in a society of perfectionism. Like we feel like we need to be perfect. And I'm like, let me sing and let my voice crack a few times and I'll post it on the internet anyways, because it's like, who cares? It's like giving other people permission to, express themselves. And I think singing, just using that as an example, is such a beautiful form of expression. I think everybody should sing without, feeling fear of judgment. Yeah, I'm kind of rambling there, but I'm human, but I'm not going to let the judgment stop me.
Yeah, singing is healing. It's such a healing frequency that comes behind it when you're tapped into it. And I can definitely feel like your channel through your voice, through your throat chakra, like it's different. It feels more open and strong. Like I can feel the vibration, like I said earlier, when you're speaking come out, like I can feel it vibrate. And I do believe people like yourself who are like creators and have a big following, they have a strong frequency that vibrates out and people have to listen, have to tune in, people have to come. I also feel people who have the greatest calling have the greatest fear to that calling. And the people who have the greatest gift in that calling are forced into that calling. You think about the young artists of like Michael Jackson, Chris Brown, Rihanna, like they were forced, they could do it, but they was pushed into the masses to sing and to be and to entertain, where Justin Bieber, they really probably wasn't ready. But yet they're like, okay, I'm 9, 10, 15, however old they were, and they did it. And so then there's people like probably like yourself who's a late bloomer, where it's like, oh, you got to give it, then you just take off and you're just like selling out shows and you're traveling the world and people love you and you're just this new vessel of healing, truth, love, and peace for people. So congratulations on that revelation and that journey. You know, a lot of people get those thoughts, those downloads, but they don't actually integrate it into their life, or they don't follow through or apply it or execute it. So that's a really good thing. I want to pivot just a bit because I think to some people listening, they might know, they might not. There is a reality that's the world we live in, the real world, right? We all in the real world. But when it comes to dating and relating, and then that's the spiritual world, like you was just saying earlier, that you're not part of this new spiritual, what you see as religion. What is your awareness or experience with dating in the real world, like everybody else does, and then dating in the spiritual world that most people probably not aware of? What is some experiences that you feel like is so certain and kind of maybe not uncomfortable, but it's like it's not what it looks like? Because you meet a lot of spiritual people who have power, but they might not be that in person. If that makes sense.
Yeah, they're not like not being embodied. So some of my greatest lessons have come from relationships. I've been in really tough relationships. I'm laughing. It's not funny, but it's, looking back, there's been a lot of growth because of relationships. I was so unhealed at the time that I was attracting in people that reflected that back to me. They were mirrors, right? I didn't know my self-worth. Therefore, I attracted in people who didn't see my self-worth. And then I started this awakening journey, and I really started this self-love journey, and I was single for a period of time. And then there was a period of time where I thought, nobody's going to get me. I'm like, no, I don't think I'm ever going to end up with anybody because nobody's going to get the way I think. They're just going to think I'm crazy. So I was in that period for a period of time. And then I ended up meeting somebody in 2023, actually, and he was very spiritual. That kind of blew my mind because I was like, oh my God, like this is the one, this is the person. The universe brought in somebody that finally gets me. He's like me, the boy version of me. Online as well, like so many parallels, X, Y, and Z. And we ended up talking. We were long distance, never official, but we ended up talking long distance for a while. And then he flew out to meet me, and it was like fireworks, X, Y, and Z. Fast forward, I realized, I'm like, oh my God, he's saying all the right things. Yes, he's spiritual, but he's not embodied. He didn't actually integrate all of these spiritual lessons, and he was coming through as this guru. And I realized, I'm like, oh my God, no, this is not it. I had to choose myself. That was a really tough breakup. I mean, we weren't even officially dating, but like that was really tough to walk away from this person because we were so connected at a soul level. And I know that. But the reality of who he was in this human experience was not where I needed him to be. Fast forward, I ended up meeting somebody else last year, the beginning of last year, and we saw each other on and off for almost a year. And he was not spiritual really at all. However, through that, I realized, I'm like, okay, I don't think I actually need somebody spiritual, but I need someone more, I don't want to say like him, but who had more of the qualities that he had, because he was very grounded. He was like a man of the earth, the way I am like a woman of the sky, if that makes sense. Like he's a hunter, he likes to garden, like just very, very grounded. And like for somebody like me who's very spiritual, connected with my intuition, kind of like going back and forth between worlds. I need that. I don't need somebody else that's also going back and forth between worlds. I need somebody else that's like grounded for me personally. And I just feel like, with spirituality and stuff, it's so easy to get wrapped up in people know what to say, right? They know how to say the right things. And that could be dangerous sometimes too, because it's like you can have all of the knowledge, but where's the integration? Where's the lived experience? Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think because it is a dichotomy of the spiritual realm and then the earth being grounded. And I've witnessed, in the spiritual community, especially with women, they're so in the spiritual space, they're not as grounded as they can be to hold a space for somebody to come in. But I've also been the man who was super spiritual, but I wasn't grounded, right? I had like all the knowledge, but I didn't know how to integrate it. So now since my Peru journey and meeting my girlfriend now, I realized like, oh, that's what I'm integrating more in, to be more present, to be more grounded. Like I understand all this up here. How do I bring all this into my vessel to flush in the earth and push out and not up. And I think it's so important for all of us, whether you're spiritual, you're not, to have both parts. And also, I want to talk about lastly about the shadow frequency. And most of my life, I stepped into like my light frequency, positivity, and all these things where a lot of it was spiritual bypass because I didn't want to feel anything. And I'm learning now that, oh, you have to integrate your shadow frequency into your light consciousness to be fully embodied and authentic about where you are and not what you think people want to hear. So you can get what you want from them. And I'm like, oh, you don't have to hide those parts no more, you know?
Exactly that. It's like you're not to put, don't hide it, don't shove it away. You actually need to look at it, right? To me, the shadow is the ego. It's getting to know it, it's understanding it, it's integrating it, it's the integration of the shadow. All parts are welcome. You are whole as you are right here, right now. You don't need to be fully healed. Spirituality is not about only love and light, the dark as well. Like we're here on earth to experience the polarity. There is no light without the darkness. So you don't, by avoiding the darkness, that is a piece of the shadow, right? Trying to, again, protect you.
Yeah.
But yeah, you said it exactly that. The shadow is meant to be seen. It's meant to be acknowledged. It's meant to be loved. Everything and everyone just needs love at the end of the day. To me, going back to what I was saying about religion, I don't associate with religion, but my religion is love. That's what I'll say.
Oh, that's really great. This has got a lot of bars today. I think you should be writing songs. But yeah, it's true. Love is a religion. It's a way of life. It's a way of being. It's a frequency. It's a vibration. It's a conscience. It's all the things. It's omnipresent. And I will say for men listening, you have two type of men. What I refer to is you have the man who's heavy in his shadow and he will get you and he's very strong. He's the edgy but then he's not integrating his light, so he's never in his heart. So then he's never fully present, but he's very present in that way. And then
Yeah.
you have the guy who's the nice guy. He's all positive and he's all love and light, but he's no shadow. So then the woman might not, she then becomes bored or she doesn't feel all the way safe. So guys, I think you need both. I know you need both because a woman wants a lover and a fighter because all of you is going to make her amplify all of you that you need in this lifetime because a woman amplifies a man's vision in his presence in the world. You're here to, women help you create because they can have babies come through them, the vessel.
It's like balancing out the light and the dark within you. But it's balancing out the masculine and feminine energy within you. And I feel like just because of the society we live in, masculinity, right, is like the tough man. It's this. And a lot of men don't want to associate with emotions, which is more so like the feminine energy within you. But it's so important to balance the two out within you. And I feel like, yeah, it ties together with the light and the dark. It's balancing the masculine and feminine. And when you become balanced within, that's often when you become in alignment. That's when things kind of fall into place for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's goes as sound is divine union, right? The ebbs and flow of life. I always say the masculine is usually the quarterback and the feminine is the receiver. So if I'm always being a quarterback and I can never receive, we can never win a game as a couple or as partners or as friends because you need both. Some women are going to be in their masculine when it comes to dating and relating because that's part of their nature, nurture. Same for men, right? There's going to be a time when you need to be more soft and light and joyful. Then there's going to be a time when you need to be more hard and protective and certain. And I call it a divine masculine and feminine within and trust in both sides and not just trying to overcompensate in one area because what society is telling us. And I see that with a lot of women of lately because the roles have switched in the world. Women are having more power. And I think because the masculine has always been that, women are taking that unconsciously and becoming it. And it's doing the same thing, but in a different way, right? Because you get women who they get the money, they get everything, but at the end of the day, they just really want love. You can buy love, but then you try to do it and then the guy runs away. Or the guy who wants to have all the money and he wants love or he wants a girl and if she's only there for your money. So it's these things of controlling and not allowing, but I think you can have it all if you allow yourself to balance both within your soul and your essence.
I feel like, and going back to what I was saying before my spiritual really awakening, whatever it is you want to call it, my relationships, I was attracting in people that didn't fully see my worth or my value because I was so unhealed. I was also attracting that in. It was out of balance. So, like, when you can, and again, you don't need to be perfect, but when you can balance it out within you, you're going to attract in a balanced relationship. And also, like, talking about the emotions, it's so important to tune into your own emotions, have the ability to tap into your own emotions, because without that, how are you supposed to hold space for your partner? And I feel like that's another thing that people in general, but especially men, struggle with. It's like showing emotion is not weakness. I actually think showing emotion, feeling emotion is strength, because it's not easy to dive in and it takes courage. To me, it's weak to avoid, to push it away.
Yeah, because I tell men all the time, I say, look, you don't cry, I cry. So guess what? I will demolish you in a way that you can't be demolished because I'm more emotionally vulnerable in myself. I'm not afraid of my emotions, right? Not in a negative way, but it's like a guy who goes in the gym and he lifts all the weight, but his breathing shape is off. Like he's breathing hard because he's not embodying the full compass of his being. And it's not our fault, right? We're not programmed, we're not wired, but it's okay to cry. It's okay to release. It's okay to be vulnerable, because when you're vulnerable, you're actually more powerful than when you're not. I learned this from an Olympic friend from years ago. He said when he would compete, the person he was competing against would ask him, "Are you afraid?" And he would say, "Yes." I was like, "You would tell him that?" He's like, "Yeah, because if I don't say how I feel, he's going to beat me." And I'm like, "What you mean?" He's like, "If I act as if I'm not afraid or nervous, I'm lying. So guess what? He can see that and he's going to beat me." But when I acknowledge that, now they know, like, yeah, I'm scared. I'm afraid, but I got you. I'm going hard. Then you have more power in the authenticity of that negative or emotion. I'm like, oh, and I remember in my dating life, I would be too cool to act like I love or like someone because of what it looked like. And I'm like, ah, I love love. I'm so in love. Come here, I miss you. Where some guys fight that. Women love when you're vulnerable like that. Like, yeah, I miss you. Where you been at? Get over here. Right. And the more I step into that part of my being, the more my life changes. It's not even about my partner or my relate. My life changes because I'm allowing that authenticity in my emotions to open my heart up to receive not only love, but life. It's like I'm birthing a new me because I'm allowing myself to be human in my emotions and to be confident about it. And I think with men, we can work on that and understand, like, bro, cry. You don't, because the more you hold them in, the more it hurts you. Because then time goes on and you just keep hurting yourself because you're not releasing that energy from your body.
Dis-ease.
Dis-ease. Look at that. Right. Dis-ease. Yeah, Britt. Well, I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for your essence. But we got to know, how do we find you? How do we get to work with you? When is the concert? Come on. When can we get tickets? When's the retreat? Come on. What are we doing? But yeah, how can we find you? How can we follow you? And what's the best way to work with your energy to give into your world?
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. This was such a great conversation. So you can find me. I'm on social media. You can find me on TikTok. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube. Just at Brittany Bento. My Instagram is at Brittany Bento with the number 3 at the end, because just Brittany Bento was already taken. I also have an online community. It's called the Beehive. So there's content on there for me and then my business partner slash friend. We have a lot of it's about healing work. So stuff specifically to help you integrate your shadow. We have a lot of that sort of a work on there. Also just community. We do Zooms once a month. I have my first retreat. It's not open for any more bookings, but my first retreat's coming up. So I'm hoping to do another one, date pending. So if you're interested, keep an ear out for that. Yeah, I'm trying to think what else. Just if you follow me online, you'll be caught up to date with everything, because Instagram is the place where I kind of post all of my things, if that makes sense. If I have something coming up, I'll post it on Instagram. So if you want to keep up to date with me, Instagram is kind of where to be. But YouTube is actually where I want more of my community to be.
YouTube. Go to YouTube. She's 50,000 subscribers and she got what, 800 on TikTok? Yeah, she's lit. Go follow her. Brittany Bento. BB. But yeah, Britt, thank you. This was a blessing. Thank you for your sacred essence and your energy. And I look forward to your tour, your artistry of this new version of yourself. The artist, Brittany, not just the psychic or the healer. She's an artist in a beautiful way. This was great. But yeah, one last question. What does it mean to be spiritually fit? I know you answered it in the beginning, you broke it down, but just what's the first thing come to mind when you think about spiritual fitness?
To me, like mind, body, spirit comes to mind. It's embodying all three. It's paying attention to all three, not one more than the other. And just mind, body, spirit focused, and making that a daily practice, like anything else, to kind of, to maintain it. You need to practice it daily. So mind, body, spirit, wellness, all together, with that daily practice.
There it is. Spiritual fitness, guys. Thank you, Brittany. Follow her, subscribe to the podcast, give to the YouTube, and we're here. Spiritual fitness. Wow. Peace.